wanted to take a look at the current astrological energies and current events that are going on in the world, because there's some things coming up astrology-wise that I feel are influencing what's going on now, what could evolve and unfold over the next week or so. And I just felt that it was important to highlight this so you have an idea of possibly what is to come. And to be clear, this is regarding just mundane astrology. I'm not looking at the finances in this one. This is just, again, different events that are influencing our lives. I am recording this currently on the day of the full moon in Sagittarius, and I thought it was appropriate to record this during this. Jupiter entered into the sign of Cancer on June the 9th. Jupiter expanding. It's about freedom. It's about different philosophies. It could be about religion, religious beliefs, but the main word, I believe, is belief systems. The beliefs that people have, fighting for your beliefs, the freedom to fight for beliefs. And we can see that the LA protests started this past Friday. Jupiter entering into Cancer. Now, Jupiter likes to be in Cancer. It's happy there. It's strong there. But as Jupiter has entered into Cancer, it was having some challenges to different challenging conversations to other planets as it was entering. Jupiter was in a square to Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries, in the sign of the individual self, people voicing their opinion, taking action on beliefs that they have and fighting for them, for their personal freedoms, whatever people were and are currently fighting for. Their voice, they wanted it to be heard, fighting against the police, fighting against the governments to stay in the United States. I'm going to put this on a whole sign. I don't like it on this other sign, so give me a moment. I have this actually set to Los Angeles, California, because of these protests that are occurring. I figured that would be the most accurate for this chart. So Mars is currently at 26 degrees of Leo, and it's in a square to Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus, at the very end of Taurus. It's finishing up its conversation. It's finishing up its duties in the sign of Taurus, Uranus is. This will be exact on the 15th. But as Jupiter was getting ready to enter into Taurus and has entered into Taurus, this challenging conversation with Uranus and Mars has been going on. This is taking action, fighting in action, aggression, explosivity, rebellious energy. I feel that it's exaggerating the Jupiter energies, uprising, standing up for their freedoms. Freedom is a key word here with Sagittarius. Taking a stand against governments, fighting for their personal values. And with Mars and Uranus here, that's explosive. It happened out of nowhere. It came about and just erupted. They're sending military forces into LA currently, or they have at this point. And that would be the Saturn next to Neptune in Aries, or more so Saturn just in Aries. It's the government fighting back against the people, the government trying to maintain order where people are standing up against them. Governments losing their authority against people, yet creating and doing more things, more military type of action against people to hold on to power. So that's one of the reasons seeing these riots, it just makes sense with the astrology of why it's going on. Now, this full moon in Sagittarius is really emphasizing these riots, these Jupiter freedom fighting types of energies. Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius. So the fact that Jupiter is just moved into Cancer, representing domestic things, domestic affairs. I'm not talking like husband and wife domestic, talking about homeland, country domestic, people fighting for their freedoms. It's really emphasizing these energies Transiting over to looking at the United States' chart. As I was recording just before, I realized I should be looking at the United States' chart. Following the full moon, which I explained, freedom fighting, expressing your freedoms. June 13th, in the general charts, I'm using Western astrology right now. This is a whole chart that I'm using for the United States, 5:10 p.m. 1776, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. June 13th, we have the Sun squaring to the North Node, and on the 14th, Venus opposite Lilith. This is building up the energy as we get to the 15th, where Mars is squaring Uranus, Jupiter squaring to Saturn. Tense energies. In the United States' chart, currently we have Saturn conjunct the IC line, the most very bottom of the chart. This was exact on the 7th, goes in line with around when these protests started. The very bottom of the chart, people, governments taking away personal freedoms, people feeling restricted. It's in the 5th house, people just not feeling heard, not feeling seen. 5th house is more of a creative house, has to do with children, so a lot of younger people, I'm not saying kids who were like 10 years old, but people, younger adults could be and have been taking to the streets, standing up for their values against the governments. This is pretty intense. I did not realize that this was going on. On the 12th, Mars is opposite to United States' Sun. Mars is in the 9th house. The Sun is squaring United States' Neptune. This is a big deal. The 13th, Jupiter is in a square to United States' midheaven and the bottom of the chart. We'll see where Jupiter is. And on the 21st, North Node is opposite to United States' Neptune. There's a lot going on in the United States' chart. I did not know this until I just pulled this up. So let's just open up the 13th because that's where a lot of this action is occurring. And again, energy is always in motion. So the energies are always moving. The conversations are continuous. So with the general transits charts that's occurring, on the screen I will put up the charts, the transits in focus here. The combination of these transits and the transits in the United States' chart, there's a lot of conflict, disagreement, a lot of conversations going on. Jupiter is a huge factor in all of this. It just went into Cancer, moving a sign. It's a big deal, but it's having challenging transits within the United States' chart. North Node opposite to United States' Neptune. These are changing the direction of people, the spirit of the people. There's unrest. This is a challenge. This is very challenging. This really could be signaling more of a disruption, more interruption, more military action taken, because we have Saturn here right next to this IC, the very, very bottom of the chart. So we have Saturn at the bottom of the chart, North Node talking to Neptune at the very top of the chart. Polar opposites here. Outer world and inner world are colliding, are not on the same wavelength. Clashing of beliefs, clashing of values, a division. That's probably the better word. There's a division in the United States. And this is something we could say that's been building for quite some time, with Uranus squaring to Mars on the 15th and Jupiter squaring to Saturn and Neptune as well on the 15th. So Mars is in the 9th house in Leo. That right away, something with governments. Uranus is in the 6th house of Taurus. Strong could be violent disruption to mass amount of people, to mass amount of people's daily lives. Maybe a decision that's made that's affecting people, or an event. I see this more as an event that's happening. Mars is also opposite the moon, the United States' moon, in the 3rd house. Disruption to everyday lives, perhaps. I don't know what the event will be, but this could either A, have something to do with something that happens naturally, some sort of explosive event that happens naturally within our world in general, earthquakes, volcanoes, meteors, whatever it is, that could be the case, the event with Mars and Uranus. Or this could be something to do with like a crackdown on people, a government crackdown of sorts on people, because Mars is in Leo. That has to do with governments, leaders. It's in the 9th house, the beliefs, the philosophy, how people, what they believe, what they're voicing their opinions, to be taking actions against governments, because Taurus also does rule the physical structures of our society. So perhaps there is action taken that influences different structures, physical structures, maybe fires to structures, structures being exploded or blown up, an eruption of events of sorts. I do feel that this is just further enhancing these protests that are going on. The protests could be spreading like wildfire. They could be spreading to other people in different states. Yeah, this could be an explosive activity. People really lashing out against governments, because Mars opposite the moon in Leo. Sun is in 22 degrees of Aquarius. Yeah, I see this as an eruption of people taking action. Now, this might not even have anything to do with protests. Another event of some sort could have taken place that causes people to erupt even further, pour out into the streets, really take stronger action against the governments, the institutions, wanting their values heard, wanting their freedoms to not be taken away, feeling like their freedoms are being taken away. And we have Jupiter squaring to Neptune on the 19th. Let's take a look at that. That's pretty big. So in the United States' chart, okay, this does coincide with North Node opposite of natal Neptune. One thing I forgot to say in the beginning was Jupiter seems to have this effect where the energy builds up, and the strongest influence of Jupiter's energy occurs before the transit is exact. So Jupiter is squaring to Neptune in the general charts on the 19th. So starting on the 16th, even the 15th, with Jupiter also squaring to Saturn, the energies of Jupiter squaring to Neptune could be ramping up, could be showing the strongest. From now, the 11th through the 20th, I would say, we're going to see a lot of buildup of energies, things suddenly happening, suddenly expanding, suddenly getting bigger, taking traction, because Jupiter expands. Whether it's positive or negative, Jupiter expands what it touches. So expanding this challenging energy that's going on, these challenging transits that it's in. Jupiter is not all negative in Cancer. I said in the beginning, Jupiter is great in Cancer. It likes being in Cancer. It shows it's strong in Cancer. And because it's strong, I feel that that strength that Jupiter has in the sign of Cancer is rippling through and strengthening these challenging transits that are occurring now during this time. So this is the 21st. This is actually, yes, this is also the first day of summer as Saturn, as the sun enters into Cancer and conjuncts to Jupiter. Very powerful stuff. The sun is highlighting all of this energy as well. It's really amplifying it. It's putting like a spotlight on it. So with Jupiter squaring to Neptune, it's really, really amplifying the influence of people standing up, taking action, rebelling. Now, Jupiter is in the United States' 8th house. This does have to do with governments, banks, banking, finances, big corporation type of energy. Money could be something that is affected with all of this. This might not be like a financial meltdown. It could have a definite direct influence on finances, because money is tied to a lot of things. Direction of finances change. Maybe financial institutions strike back against people and these protests and people fighting back. They restrict people's bank accounts or PayPal or whoever they have their finances. They could maybe be restricting, locking people out of their accounts, restricting them from accessing their finances as a result of people rebelling and fighting back. Uranus is at 29 degrees of Taurus. This is when outer planets are at 29 degrees, getting ready to move into the next sign. That is a big deal. Events occur. Big events usually occur around this time. With Uranus getting ready to move into Jupiter, to Gemini, July the 7th. What we're going through now could be a setup of what is next to come. Uranus in Gemini is a significator of wars, of fighting. So this could be the foreshadowing what's to come as Uranus enters into Gemini. I don't think this is the last of it. I think this is one round of what we're going through, a wave of change that we're going through. There's two sides always to every story. There's always different sides to everything, but solutions and changing and evolving with the challenges that come up is how we're going to move through this. Violence, I don't think, is always the answer, but people are aggravated. People are frustrated. They're upset. So, but are they naturally upset, or are they being provoked to be upset? I think that's really the question that I ask myself. Is this something that's been orchestrated to provoke people to get the solution that these government and people behind the scenes, Jupiter now in the 8th house of the United States, things that are hidden in the shadows, below the surface? Is there something going on below the surface that we're not aware of, that it's occurring, that's being brought out to the surface to have the outcome that these hidden forces want? I don't know. I don't even know the answer to that, but that's what I think about. This is the full moon. I'm going to try to get this out on the exact full moon today. On the full moon, it's a good time to reflect inwardly of your own values, especially now, your own values. What do you value? What freedoms do you value? And how maybe are your values changing? Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe, and share.